So in this video, I'm reviewing the Velotric Summit 1, which is Velotric's electric bike that's designed for all your outdoor trekking adventures. So the first thing you'll notice about this bike is the looks, which I think looks pretty darn good, especially in the sunrise orange color, which also has this pearlescent hue to it and looks amazing in the sun. The Summit 1 is made of triple-butted aluminum. It weighs 62 pounds, is IPX6 certified, and offered in two different sizes. There's regular, which fits people 5'1" to 5'10", and large, that fits people 5'8" to 6'6". So I'm 5'10", so I kind of fit in between sizes, but I like my bikes fit a little bit on the larger side, so this is the large size. So I'm going to be testing out the Summit 1 to see not only if it looks the part, but if it can also do what Velotric says it was designed for. So the Summit 1 comes with a 2.8-inch TFT display that controls everything on this bike. It's a really nice display that has a clean design, and most importantly, it's easy and intuitive to use. It also has a USB Type-A port to charge a phone. There's also an app as well, but it's not necessary to use the bike. But I do highly recommend it because it does have firmware updates to the bike, and many of the settings to the bike can be done from the app directly. The app also records riding data and it synchronizes with Apple Health. So at the heart of the Summit 1 is their proprietary VeloPower 750 watt rear hub motor. That's a peak output of 1300 watts. It provides up to 90 Newton meters of torque and has a mind-boggling 15 levels of assistance. There's an eco mode, trail mode, and boost mode, with each having 5 levels of assistance, and depending on the level of assistance that you use. The eco mode puts out between 45 and 65 Newton meters of torque. Trail puts out between 52 and 72 Newton meters of torque, and boost puts out between 58 and 90 Newton meters of torque. So the Summit 1 is classified as a Class 1, Class 2, and even a Class 3 e-bike, which might leave you scratching your head, but I'll explain. So both through the display and the app, you can actually toggle the top speed of the Summit 1. So if you want to have a Class 3 e-bike, you can set the top speed to 28 miles per hour and have the thumb throttle turned on and go as fast as humanly possible. But if you want to ride in an area that's limited to a Class 1 e-bike, you can turn the top speed down to 20 miles per hour, remove the throttle, and then you have a Class 1 e-bike. To me, this is a really cool feature, and I would like to see more brands follow Velotric and add this feature. So there's also a feature this bike has I've personally never seen on an e-bike, and Velotric calls it the sensor swap, where you can switch between either a torque sensor or a cadence sensor, and the cool part is it can be toggled in the app. So if you aren't sure the difference between the two, the cadence sensor is where assistance is based on your pedaling speed, and the power delivery is more immediate. Whereas the torque sensor is based on the force you apply to the pedals, and has more of a natural feeling since the bike provides electric assistance based on the pedaling effort. So supplying the power to the motor is a 700.56 watt-hour battery that uses Samsung LG batteries, and provides up to 70 miles of range using pedal assistance and 60 miles using throttle. The battery is also IPX certified, which means that the battery can be submerged into water up to 3 feet for 30 minutes without any damage. And the bike itself is actually IPX certified, so you don't have to worry about damaging the bike when washing or riding through horrible weather. And for safety, there's a 130 lux headlight which is integrated into the stem, but it can be removed. What's really cool about this headlight is that not only is there a switch to turn on the headlight, but in the display, you can also set up the headlight to be light sensing, so it turns on automatically when it starts to get dark. There's also a brake light that's directly attached under the saddle, which not only can be used as a brake light, but it's also a running light when your lights are on. You can also set it where it's a flashing running light. And for added security and safety, the Summit 1 also has Apple Find My. So if you have an iPhone, you can actually track the bike on your phone to see exactly where it is. So for the large size, the Summit 1 has an overall length of about 74 inches, or about 1,880 millimeters, and a wheelbase of about 47 inches, or about 1,200 millimeters. The chainstays measure about 480 millimeters, or 19 inches, and has a head tube angle of 67 degrees. The reach is 402 millimeters, a stack height of 649 millimeters, and a standover height of 749 millimeters. So the Summit 1 comes with a hydraulic boost fork with 120 millimeters of travel, 34 millimeter stanchions with a lockout that's designed for its 27.5-inch plus wheels. The wheels supplied on the bike are both 27.5-inch boost wheels with a 30 millimeter internal width, and they come supplied with Schrader tubes. The tires are also 27.5-inch Kenda tires with a 2.6-inch width. The brakes are Shimano MT200 2-piston hydraulic disc brakes with 180 millimeter rotors both in the front and the rear. It also comes with a Shimano 8-speed drivetrain with a 32-tooth cassette. And if you're worried about dropping the chain, Velotric has supplied the Summit 1 with a narrow wide chainring with 44 teeth, a chain guide, and even a chainstay protector. And the Summit 1 actually comes with real mountain bike riser bars, with the bars measuring 760 millimeters wide for the regular size and 780 millimeters wide on the size large. The stem is 35 millimeters on the regular and 50 millimeters on the large. The bike also comes with a standard seat post, but it is ready for an internally routed dropper post. And to cap it off, there's actually 2 water bottle mounts inside the triangle, and even a mount underneath the top tube. So the last thing I want to touch upon is the customizability of the Summit 1. For example, If you want the bike to be more of a long-distance adventure trekking bike, you can buy a rear rack, mirrors, fenders, and a suspension C-post to turn it into the ultimate adventure bike. But if you want to turn this bike into something you use more on the dirt, you can add an internal dropper post, an 11-speed drivetrain, a beefier fork, and more aggressive tires. So there's the full rundown of the Velotric Summit 1. And while it looks really good on paper, let's check out how it rides. So to test out the full capabilities of the Summit 1, I'm taking it to the mountains in beautiful East San Diego, where I'm going to be testing the bike's hill climbing ability, it handles dirt trails, ride comfort over many hours in the saddle, and good indication on the range. My ride starts on Pine Creek Road, which is a beautiful road winding through the mountains that's almost 7 miles long, has over 2,100 feet of climbing, and is about 95% pavement. It's a nasty climb that typically takes over an hour and a half to complete. I started off my ride for the first couple of miles using the cadence sensor, and to test out how it works, and I can confirm it works as a cadence sensor should. The power is immediate and strong. And I've ridden a lot of e-bikes with cadence sensors, and the Summit 1 feels almost identical, except it does feel a little more refined. With most e-bikes I've ridden with a cadence sensor, there tends to be about a half second delay before the power hits when you're pedaling, but with the Summit 1, there wasn't a delay at all. So good job to Velotric on getting the power output to be instantaneous. But after about 2 miles or so, I switched to the torque sensor setting because I prefer a more natural feeling when the electric assist kicks in. And with some monster climbs on this road, I wanted the bike to put power out depending on my effort. I also switched to the boost mode due to some of the hills on this road being over 17% in grade, but the Summit 1 handled every single hill. One thing of note is that the Summit 1 has a 32-tooth cassette, and after climbing some of the bigger hills, I was secretly hoping for at least a 42-tooth cassette, just to make some of these hills a little easier to climb without having to use level 4 or 5 in the boost setting. After about 7 miles, I got to the top of the road and about to enter the off-road section, where I switched the bike to the trail power setting and limited the top speed to 20 miles per hour to essentially make the bike a Class 1 e-bike. And once I got on the dirt path, I was having an absolute blast. The bike's frame is very compliant and has almost zero chatter. The combination of the frame, wide 2.6-inch tires, 120mm hydraulic fork, and a very comfy saddle, the bike was very comfortable. And one of the biggest surprises was actually the Kenda tires, which not only worked really well on the road sections, but they're also really grippy in the dirt. And another thing I noticed was how quiet the motor was. When riding, especially somewhere that's tranquil and beautiful, the last thing I want to hear is a loud whirring of an electric motor. But the Summit 1 motor is shockingly quiet, and I couldn't hear it when riding. It was really nice, and something that I take into consideration when choosing an e-bike. But after doing a lap of the meadow, and enjoying the backdrop with the lake and cows grazing, I started my way back to the pavement. And after enjoying some tame dirt paths, it was nice to get back on the pavement, where I decided to bomb down the hill back to my truck. And I can confirm that at speeds over 30 miles per hour, the bike is remarkably stable, and it was a great idea to put some Shimano hydraulic disc brakes on this bike. Slowing down a 62-pound e-bike creates a lot of heat on the brakes, and the Shimano brakes provided strong braking power with zero brake fade. And with only half a mile to go, I was almost back to my truck, so I decided to use the throttle to see how it worked. And I can confirm it works great. With little drama, it allowed me to cruise in comfort. So in total, I rode 24.94 miles with 3,350 feet of climbing, and I felt great afterwards. Even better, I still had 51% battery left. Which means that based on this ride, the Summit 1 would have gone about 50 miles with 6,700 feet of climbing out of the battery, which is mind-boggling. And there's no doubt in my mind that this bike could get 70 miles of range on a regular ride without all the climbing that I did. So I have to say, the Summit 1 blew me away. I get to ride a lot of bikes on this channel, and each one has a special place in my heart, but the biggest problem with most bikes is that they seem to lack a lot of features. But the Summit 1 doesn't have this problem at all. The number of features on this bike is mind-boggling. Everything from the integrated headlight, integrated taillight, being able to switch between cadence and torque sensors, having 15 levels of assist, the battery being IPX7 certified, having a super nice display, and even having the Apple Find My feature. To me, it feels like Velotric had a meeting to discuss what features would be cool on a bike, and at the end of the meeting they said, screw it, let's just put all of them on the Summit 1. And the best part is that the bike feels polished and refined, which at this price point is amazing. And I have a lot of features I really like about this bike, but by far my favorite is the ability to switch between making it a Class 1, Class 2, or Class 3 e-bike. This is something that should be used on more e-bikes, and I absolutely love it. So you're probably wondering if there's anything I would actually change about the Summit 1. And there's actually two. First is I wish there was at least a 42-tooth cassette on the back of the bike instead of the 32. It would make the steep climbs a little bit tiny easier to pedal up. Second is that the reach is pretty long, so it would have been really cool if they would have steepened the C-tube angle just a tiny bit to shorten the reach. But admittedly, both of these are just a personal preference, and many people wouldn't be bothered by either thing. So the last thing is, Velotric says this bike is designed with customization in mind. So I ask you, the viewer, what 3 upgrades would you do to the Summit 1? For me, I would add a 10 or 11 speed drivetrain with at least a 46 tooth cassette. I would also get a shorter stem so I could shorten the reach. And last, I'd put a dropper post on it. But I'm really curious on what you have to say, so let me know in the comments. And if you have any questions about the bike, or if you own a Summit 1 and want to share your experience, let me know in the comment section below. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and have a great one.